Good evening, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy to be back. You all. So just really excited also about this topic because it may not even be what you're thinking about at first, right? Like, okay, so what did a road trip teach you about family, right? About just some life lessons, some family lessons. So it wasn't even so much about the interactions as a family. It was the journey itself, how people like to say, right? So with that in mind, y'all, we're going to jump right into it. Um, earlier this year, about a month and a half ago, where I took a road trip to my cousin's graduation, and while I was traveling and really just making observations and the planning beforehand, the packing, yes, the driving, right, actually being on the road, resting. And I'm gonna blink slow on that one. And of course, reflecting, because y'all know I'm a wonderer. I'm always wondering. I realized a couple things. So, one, yeah, everybody sees the trip, but few people actually see all the preparation, all the things that lead up to the trip, right? But what we're talking about this evening is how families actually work the same way. Same thing happened with families, right? Y'all will celebrate graduations, report cards, vacations, achievements, all those big milestones. We're like, woohoo, right? We're pulling up everything. But how often, especially on the family side, do we discuss the preparation that's necessary, the systems that it required to get there? Notice I said systems, not support. I have a whole live stream on that. If you missed it, please go back and catch it. But the systems that got us there, the actual rhythms, and then the invisible work. We sometimes talk about invisible work once it's heavy, once it's a little bit later, but those are things we need to address that we need to talk about. So, we're going to check in really quickly now that we're about halfway through the summer. I wonder how many of us have realized that maybe the season, right? Maybe summer break is not unfolding exactly how we thought it would. It was not quite how we imagined, right? If that's you, say yeah, Anika, that's me in the chat. If you're like, yeah, it's feeling and looking and sounding a little bit differently than what I imagined, let me know in the chat. Right? Maybe when summer started, you were thinking you and your family would have maybe more time, right? We're going to communicate very, very well. We'll have more patience this year. Maybe the connection will be different. Or we're going to make sure to catch up on some rest. And we're going to have a lot of fun, right? Was it any of those things? Was it any of those things you thought your family would have had more of at the start of this summer? Let me know in the chat. All right, y'all. And so then the question becomes, well, if we aren't actually getting more of that, then why not? Then why not? So we're going to talk about a couple of things. I told you I was just making some observations and kind of making some notes about things that, right, I actually learned from the trip. Not necessarily the interaction so much, but literally the trip, the journey. So imagine with me reflection number one, right? We're thinking about the suitcases. We know we might have our suitcases ready at the door. Yeah. So imagine that, visualize that for a moment. And the lesson, right? We said 5 lessons every family needs. Lesson one, that the preparation matters tremendously. So, yes, we know we need to pack before we leave, right? But I also do have some friends and I think some family, right, that they are good for just throwing some stuff in right before it's time to go, but actually planning to pack before the departure. Maybe you have a checklist, right? And I always say the special moments, the special magic, and part of the prep and the planning before the departure is you do make your list, but you make it like well enough in advance so that things are calm. You don't have to run around like it's the last couple of days or the night before. And now, what else do I need? You already made your list when it was calm, so you're less likely to forget something. You can start putting things in the bag ahead of time that you don't need yet, and it's just really a different kind of experience. So maybe the making plans, or okay, so I do need to pack this. I made my list. Oh, but there are a couple errands I need to run, and just making sure you've allotted time for that as well, which also comes with anticipating the needs, right? If preparation matters, that means we thought about what needs we might have. Oh, maybe I need to re-up on some of my travel size toiletries, right? Oh, we need the new little cap. We need some new family caps for the toothbrushes, like all this kind of stuff. But especially if you have you're allotting time, right? You're allotting time appropriately to make the list, make the plan, but before all the pressure is on and it's all stakes, everything's high. So the reality is, because if those few things, because it's just a few things that become a big deal, if those few things didn't go well, that many families are going to experience challenges really before the real challenge actually arrives, right? If we're trying to just get out the door on time, we're trying to make sure we're in the space, and the packing didn't go well, we didn't anticipate needs well, there's no list to double check. Listen, the preparation is, again, reflection one. So, y'all, if you could, and I see some people have said in the chat that, yeah, their summertime is going differently than how they thought. They thought they would have more time, more relaxation. So, what is one word that you would use to describe your summer so far? What is one word that you would use to describe your summer so far? And I'll give you all a little bit of think time for that one. Because we're going to reflect. Like while I'm sharing some of my reflections, the goal is for you to reflect as well, because we're going to kind of rewind the tape, like, right? So almost some people call it like the reverse engineering, or the right. If this is where we want it to be, then what happened along the way? Slash, what adjustments do we need to make to what happened along the way? So constant, and then someone else said unbalanced. Okay, okay, fair enough. Reflection two. So if the first reflection we were envisioning, right, like the suitcases by the door, reflection two, I want you to imagine with me, it's time to refill our water bottles, or get some water. We're stopping at a rest stop. So we're stopping at a rest stop. Lesson two, maintenance matters. Maintenance matters. So the stopping, the resting, right? When we stop at a rest stop, sometimes it's a little faster than other times when we stop, but usually the goal is the same. You want to stretch. There's some type of refueling, whether it's for the people, the vehicle, or both, right? But just a pause in the road trip itself. So that's stopping. That's usually, if we had three ingredients, is those three things for sure, right? Now, what happens is, and I am super, super guilty of this myself, and I definitely am grateful for the people in my space that remind me that, Anika, this is not a thing. Don't treat it like that. But often families treat rest like it's a reward. Like, well, once we've done, then we can rest. Or no, we can't rest yet. So just being very careful about treating rest like it's a reward versus just being a part of the trip, just a part of the strategy, a part of the plan, right? So often we treat it like, recovery should be a reward, but it isn't. So that's one of the things I want to make sure we shift our thinking about. That again, recovery isn't a reward, is part of the process. It's part of what has to happen. So when you know that you need to press pause, right, for your family, or you know that, okay, we need to slow down, or you're looking at the calendar and you see these back to back weekends where you have to pull up and we have to go here and do this and do that. And then it's one, right, where it's like, oh, there's nothing there. People do tend to get excited about that, or maybe just me. But it's because we actually get to rest, right? Because rest is a part of the strategy, a part of the process. It's necessary. And when you are resting, again, that's not to say, oh, let me do all these million of errands and things like that. That's your time to rest as a family, because that downtime is going to create really just emotional bandwidth. Because tell the truth, when we're ripping and running and doing all these things, we're busy, there's a lot of items on the to-do list and the checklist, then sometimes that impacts communication, and not in the best way, right? Where I have to hurry up and say it, so it might come across short, it might come across terse, Maybe there's some misunderstanding and misinformation because we're not taking our time to explain and go through as well, because everything is go, 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 quick, quick, quick. So, again, the rest, besides just saying, yes, it's essential because we don't want to burn out, but it also impacts our emotional bandwidth. So, another question. When was the last time your family slowed down on purpose, right? Slowed down intentionally. And I'm going to come back and say this not because, maybe somebody got a bug and gave it to everyone else. That wasn't on purpose. That just happened. But on purpose, when was the last time your family slowed down and didn't feel guilty about it? That's the other part. And did not feel guilty about it. When was the last time that happened? For many people, it's like, I don't know, Aniko, it's been a while. It's been so. With this, again, with this reflection, make sure, please, that rest, the stop, the reset is an intentional part of your summer. Yes, summer should be fun. We should have, more time to just do different things that you want to do, but not when we're trading one type of busy for another type of busy. Okay. Yeah, I'm about to drop a poll question in here. Let's see. Let me see how quickly I can set it up. So while I'm setting it up, I'm going to tell you what it says. I want you to evaluate for me which best describes your family right now. So you're going to have some answer choices. Give me just a minute. Which best describes your family right now? Is it A, we're thriving this summer? So right now, middle of July, this summertime, is it A, we're thriving? B, Anika, we're hanging in there. We're all right. We're hanging in there. C, we're constantly reacting. Or D, honestly, we desperately need a reset. We desperately need a reset. So I'm just opening the poll really quickly. Y'all take y'all's time and respond. And I'm catching up on what you all said. The last time you slowed down intentionally. So someone says, so true. High task completion sometimes rushes communication. And again, rushed communication leads to usually negative outcomes, not the most positive. They're not being all they can be. I'll say it that way. All right, someone said this weekend intentionally stay at home. Yes, that was my family this weekend as well, because for us this has probably been, no exaggeration, more than 2 months that we did not have something on a weekend. It's been 2 months plus that we didn't have something to attend to. So good. Right, so this is a good time to ask, huh? Okay, let's see. Let's see what y'all said for this poll. All right, so okay, it's a little bit of a split. Someone said hanging in there. We're constantly reacting, which, yes, I mean that's literally when we feel these things at this point in the summer, and we're going to talk about why. And we desperately need a reset. Yeah, because we feel it at this point. This has been enough, right? Without the school schedule, without the break. And we talked about that maybe one of the last times I was live, just the consistency that the school schedule actually gives, that we don't necessarily realize is filling in some gaps until the school schedule is gone. So now all the cracks and the gaps are revealed for other structure and other systems that we need to make sure are in place. So hold that thought, though. Hold that thought coming back. So reflection 3. So imagine that, yes, on the road trip, though, I might have my laptop set up for a minute, just jotting down some thoughts, right? Journaling, recording via photographs, and just really cataloging my thoughts during some of the trip. So imagine that reflection 3, the desk is set up, right? We have a nice little space to work, because the lesson is environment shapes behavior. Environment shapes behavior. So with that in mind, y'all, sometimes it feels easier to work in some spaces than others, right? You're like, oh, I just got right to work. Everything was good. It was set up for this, and the day just flows smoothly. So being careful about, so what was it that made it easier to work there? Literally because the space that you worked in, especially thinking about when you are at work, the space that you worked in was designed for you to work. It's made for you to sit there and work, right? Whether you're interacting with some colleagues for a moment, just whatever it is literally designed for that outcome. So think about that in home life. Are our spaces, right, the kind of summer flow we want to have? Because we all have these thoughts and ideas for how we want summer to flow. Is our environment designed for that outcome? Sometimes we want the behavior to change, and suddenly we're going to be in this groove and this flow without changing the environment. When I say change the environment, it may not be something super difficult or this big grandiose things, but we're talking about we want the behaviors to change without changing the environment. Think about some of the behaviors that we focus on a lot as families. So, like homework, chores, communications, and routines, right? So, for homework, is there environment set for that? Was there a designated time and or space? Hopefully both, right? To make sure it gets done. Chores. If we're at the ages that we're assigning chores, one, do they know the chores that they're assigned to? Do they know what kind of frequency in the week they need to do that chore? Communication. Certain things. I'm gonna give this specific example. For my son. My son has a YouTube channel. And so just for different things when he wants to talk about his YouTube channel or mom, can I download this new app, things like that. At one point I realized I was like, we can't stop and talk about this every day. Like we have other things that we need to do and talk about. So at a point it was like, okay, Wednesday, we can talk about what you want to download. And let me see, they'll give me time to research, read the ratings, reviews, all that. And then if we're talking about your YouTube channel, we set aside Friday for that because it was taken away from the regular flow and routine, right? So some of the environmental things, so creating that space and that time for that. So sometimes the environment may not be physical as much in family life. It could be just literally the time and the space that's designated for it. Y'all let me know if that makes sense. And while we're talking about the routines, even still the summertime routines, right? So your summertime routine still could be, and we talked about this, maybe there's a window by when you wake up, right? You're up by this time. If I'm still expecting you to read about 15, 20 minutes every day, then we're getting it done by this time. Okay, then during the week, this is how many times or how many hours you can have for your laptop or tablet time versus TV time versus okay, we're getting some outdoor time, right? We're getting some vitamin D, some sun. So just making sure that again, when we say routines, that we literally it's the flow, right? So the systems are how we get it done, but the routines are how they're flowing. So more so the frequency, like how often it's repeating. All right. So with that in mind, y'all, if you could choose just one, right? One part of your family's daily life so it could feel easier. And so we can get some reps in, get some practice in before school starts again. Which aspect, which part of your family's daily life would you want to focus on? Would it be just the mornings, period? Would it be bedtime, communication, chores, screen time, schedule? Just giving you some examples. It can be something else. But what is the one thing while you're thinking about this? You're like, okay, we talked about the rest. We talked about the environment. We talked about just overall, right? Some of these lessons. Just what is the one thing you would focus on? So your family can start getting some practice in before it's time to go back to school. What's the one thing? Y'all let me know. While you're thinking about that, imagine with me reflection number 4. So I told y'all I was traveling to go to one of my cousin's graduation. So yeah, we made it to the graduation, right? Visualize that. The processional, the young people walking in, right? They move their tassels. They toss the cap. The lesson here, the reflection here is that milestones are visible. Milestones are visible, systems are invisible. So, y'all, nobody watched the years of studying, showing up, learning, or growing. No one watched any of that, right? They saw the graduation and they said, okay, we're thinking about it through the lens that families are the same. We celebrate outcomes, y'all. We rarely celebrate the systems that created them. So, what do you mean we didn't celebrate the systems that created them? So, what we're talking about, okay, we made it to, again, the graduation, the cap toss. So, just the showing up for practice, the learning, the struggles sometimes we're learning, the growing pains, whether literally, academically, physically, emotionally, right? Emotionally, socially, studying, all these things were happening behind the scenes. Y'all, like, so thinking about kindergarten all the way through, right? That's happening for like 13 years before we're like, yeah, you made it. Think about that for a minute. Okay? Think about that for a minute. That 13 years of behind the scenes before we celebrate the milestones. So maybe this year, right? What is a milestone we're preparing for this year or very quickly approaching next year, right? Maybe it's a new grade level, going to middle school, going to high school. Maybe it's a new sport or a new season of sports. A new routine has to happen for some reason. Maybe college. Y'all, the milestones aren't the preparation. The milestones are the result of the preparation. Okay? Someone says the environment is the one thing for me. So even with that, again, I want to make sure that we're thinking about the whole picture when we talk about the environment again. So, yes, we want to automatically think about the physical environment. Remember, we said that a lot of it will also be the communication, right? Like mindset. And so, time and space allotted for it. Like all of that plays into environment because somewhat like you can do anything anywhere, you can work anywhere, right? Now, you might want your area to look and feel a certain kind of way, but if you set aside the time and the space to really do it, like, okay, I'm locking in, or this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, then yeah, we can still achieve that goal. There can still be some progress made there. So, not just on the physical environment. I wanted to reiterate that again and just make sure that we're reflecting on that because it's those three. It's those three pieces for environment. Yeah, the last reflection. Right, we've done the road trip. Woo, we celebrated. We had a great time at the graduation. Guess what? Now somebody's asleep. Now we're sleeping. So again, guess what? Yes, we're talking about rest again because that's how serious it is, but that's how overlooked it often is. So rest is a system as well because it should be consistent. It should be a part of the routine. We should know when it happens and when it ends, right? So rest is a system as well. So summer pressure. Okay, well, we're gonna catch up, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go there, we're gonna let you try this, we're gonna so that summer pressure can sometimes be anti-rest. And so summer comes with overscheduling sometimes, which again we're trading one busy for another if we're not careful and if we're under the mindset slash pressure slash just thought pattern of we have to constantly be productive versus no, I'm going to take a pause, then we're being anti-rest, right? And one of my accountability partners, she's told me about this book, and sometimes we'll just screenshot the cover to each other. And it's called Rest is Resistance, right? Because again, sometimes, especially in our culture, it's so different, so unusual to rest that imagine that you rested and you don't feel bad about it and like, you know, everything is still okay. You the ground didn't open, it's just like just taking away like that stigma and that mindset of, oh no, I can't rest. We're supposed to rest. And again, out of the 5 lessons, yes, I cheated a little bit because rest was in there twice, but just reiterating it from different perspectives because again, it's often just glided by and overlooked. Y'all, halfway through the summer, we don't need another activity, right? And you and your family don't need another, well, you don't need permission, not from me, to slow down. So, what we normally feel at this point in the summer, if we haven't been resting, once we do, we'll say, okay, this is what I needed to recover. This is what I needed to connect. And then you can actually feel and know that you have some breathing room. Y'all, so the lessons: preparation, maintenance, environment, systems, and rhythms, right? Because we say rest is a system, rest is a rhythm. Y'all, all 5 of these have in common really nothing about the road trip, right? I said that. Not really so much about the road trip, but they're about the invisible systems that make the meaningful moments possible, right? That they get us to the graduation, they get us to the award ceremony, the promotion, just all the things we can think of, right? The successful competition, they get us there. Yeah, and again, that's exactly true for our families. We celebrate the milestones, but it's the daily rhythms that get us there. Those are exactly the conversations that we'll be having during our systems over stress, a summer reset experience for families. It's an event that's coming up on July 19th. I'm going to drop the link for you in the chat. Someone said, I heard of that book, I'll probably buy it. It's very insightful. It's definitely pivoting a lot of, like the Western culture and a lot of thinking. It's just an absolute shift. Because again, so much of the culture is go, 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 let's hustle, let's grind, let's push past, right? When you know you're tired, but listen, we'll send each other that screenshot of the cover in a minute, like you're fighting for this, but go ahead and rest. It's okay. It is okay. Right? It is okay. And y'all, just another moment about the systems over stress event. When I was putting together one of the workbook pages last week, I realized, you know what, I'd actually written down something that I'd never written down before. And that's always really what I want to say. It's one of those moments that always makes me go, ooh, okay, right? Because there's certain themes I definitely have, in my work and things I speak about, but it was just a new nugget, a new divine download for how to convey the message. So I was like, ooh, that's going to be good. That's going to be good. One of the questions, right, that just stopped me for a moment. Yeah. So again, at this point in the summer, you don't need more pressure. You need more clarity. Families need more intention and more rhythms to actually support the life that you're trying to build, right? That to actually to actually fulfill the summer that you described, right? That when we clocked out of the school year and we started summertime, then the summer that you described, there's actually intention and rhythms that support getting you there, right? That support that little bridge. And that's what we're working toward. So, again, if you have any questions, please let me know. But I hope to see you all at Systems Over Support soon. But I'll be popping up. Y'all will see some content and I'll be answering some questions, right? Some people have asked some questions. So I'll be answering some questions about that soon. Thank y'all for listening. Bye bye. See you next week.